Hello BookTube, it's Joshua here, and I'm going to be making a book tag video called the Reader's Profile Tag. I was tagged by Book Chat with Pat, so thank you so much Pat for tagging me, and this book tag was created by Hillary B. Green, so thank you for creating this. The first question that the tag asks is, what for you makes a good book? And for me, well, it depends, I think. Because I think different books are trying to do different things. They have different goals, I guess. For example, if we're talking about fiction, well, this is the Earthsea series by Ursula K. Le Guin, and Le Guin has a very beautiful writing style, and I think that writing style makes her fantasy world come to life, and that seems to be one of the goals of the series, and so as a reader, I would be judging this book on how effectively she does that, if that makes sense. Whereas if I'm reading, say, Pride and Prejudice or any book by Jane Austen, I'm not necessarily judging the book by its beauty of prose, or by its vividness of description. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it depends, because with each different book or with each different type of book, the criteria changes, I guess. I'm more looking for wittiness and humor and delight and all the things that Jane Austen was trying to do. But I don't think Jane Austen was trying to give us vivid descriptions of her world, or I don't think she was necessarily trying to give us beautiful prose. And so I think it very much depends. Of course, there are like the basic elements. Like it has to be at least clear writing, like good basic prose. It has to have some kind of plot and all that stuff. But beyond that, I think it very much depends on the type of book. 2. What are you currently reading? Well, I'm reading Dante's Divine Comedy right now. I talked about this in one of my previous videos. This is the C.H. Sisson translation with introduction and notes by David Higgins. And I'm enjoying this. Actually, I'm really fascinated by this book. I'm in purgatory right now, so I'm a little bit past halfway into the book, and I'm kind of beginning to see how the allegory of this poem is shaping, and I think it's really beautiful. I think it's really cool to see. Anyway, yeah. And the second book that I'm currently reading, or that I just finished it like last night, but the book is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. A kind of I guess a pastiche novel or like a recreation of the events of the Iliad with Achilles and Patroclus. And I really enjoyed that novel. Yeah, I was really surprised at how good it was. It really emphasized a lot of the human elements between Achilles and Patroclus, and it gave them a romantic relationship. And yeah, it kind of like took this completely new perspective of the events of the Iliad, and I really liked that, and it was beautifully written. So yeah, that's The Song of Achilles. Number 3. What's the last book you didn't finish, and why? I didn't finish Mary Queen of Scots. I put this down last month, partially just because near the beginning of July, I just got a little busy and kind of lost momentum with the things that I was currently reading. I didn't put this down for any objectively like critical reasons. I thought that it was actually very well written, and I was pretty interested, and I think I want to pick this up again some point in the future. But I just kind of, I guess I just lost momentum, if that makes sense. 4. What obscure book do you wish other people would read? For this one, I said I don't know. And the reason why I said that is because I feel like I'm at a stage in my reading life where I'm mainly just reading all of the most famous books. I'm trying to read all of the classics first, all the canonical books. So if I'm doing that, well, I'm not really reading any obscure novels. So there aren't any like super underrated books that come to mind to recommend to people. Yeah, so yeah, I'm just at a stage where I don't really know too many of those books. I'm just dealing with like the most famous ones and trying to get through those first. So 5, what's the longest book you've ever read? Well, I don't know exactly, but I guessed that it would be this biography of James Merrill. James Merrill, Life and Arts, written by Langdon Hammer. This book, it's about, let's see, it's about 850 pages of actual prose. And the reason why this is my longest book is because I haven't read any of those big huge white whale classics. Like I haven't read War and Peace, I haven't read Les Miserables or Bleak House or Middlemarch. So yeah, I haven't gone to those yet. So for now, this is the biggest book I've read. 6. If you could have a dinner party with 5 fictional characters, who would they be? So for this, I chose Mr. Emerson, the father, Mr. Emerson, from A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. He just seems like a very interesting personality, and I feel like it'd be cool to talk to him. The second person is Joe March, a very forceful and fun and strong personality, who again I just think would be interesting at a dinner table. Falstaff, because I think it would just be delightful to have everyone's pockets get picked during dinner. Anne Shirley, again, she seems like she would just be a lot of fun to be around. And Bertie Stanhope from Barchester Towers. And the main reason I chose all of these characters is just because they all seem to have pretty interesting personalities, so I think that would make a fun dinner. And number 7, 5 books you'd want if stranded on a desert island. So I feel like for this, my answers are very, very stereotypical or very obvious. The first book that I chose is, where is it? The Bible. This is like a little pocket edition of the King James Bible, and it's the Bible. So yeah, I would bring it. I'm not religious, but I'm interested in reading this because, well, it's so influential and it. Well, I've read certain parts of it, and so far it has been in certain parts, very interesting to read, and at times very beautiful or very moving. So I would take the Bible with me. Next, I would take Dante's Divine Comedy. Probably not this translation. I wouldn't want to read this translation forever, or for however long I'm on the desert island. I would take. I have a couple other translations that I would maybe take. Like, I have the Dorothy Sayers translation and the Mendelbaum translation. I think that's what his name is. But yeah, Dante. I feel like a lot of these books are self-explanatory because I'm just choosing a lot of big names. Again, Shakespeare. I would bring this book. This is the Norton Shakespeare, based on the Oxford edition. And yeah, it has all of his works, and it has tons of footnotes, everything. And I haven't read, I actually haven't read too much of Shakespeare, but if I was on a desert island, I would use the time to finally read this, you know, this author, this universal author. And oh, I don't have the copy here, but I would, oh wait, I do. Sorry, I'm like surrounded with books, but I would bring this book, Homer. This is a copy with both the Iliad and the Odyssey in it. It's the George Chapman translation, and yeah, I feel like all of my answers there were pretty obvious. And for the last choice, I would bring a poetry anthology, the New Oxford Book of English Verse. This is an anthology that goes from the year 1250 to 1950, and well, I would, yeah, it just seems like it makes sense to bring like a big, 900-page poetry anthology, if I had a lot of time to read. I wouldn't want to bring just one poet, because then, well, I don't know. I suppose I prefer the variety of an anthology. And this doesn't have American poetry in it, but I suppose I would be okay with that. I'd be okay with just English poetry. Yeah. And question 8. One book you could not put down. That would be a very recent read for me. A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. I read this maybe a week ago, and I read it in 2-3 days, and I couldn't put it down. It was really, really good. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into the other novels in this volume. This edition here has A Room with a View, Howard's End, and Maurice, or Morris, I don't know. But yeah, it was just a really, really good story. And question 9, 5 books or authors you will never read. I don't have any specific books or authors that I would never read. I do have a genre that I think I would never read, which is self-help. I don't think I would ever read that. So like any authors in there, like Ryan Holiday comes to mind, but anybody else in there, any other kinds of books in the self-help genre, I don't think I would really be interested in reading. Also, another thing that came to mind with this question was evil books. So an obvious one that comes to mind is Mein Kampf. I don't necessarily think that I would never read it, or that I would never read an evil book. But I wouldn't want to for the sake of it. But I think it might. At the same time, I can imagine myself reading it for educational purposes. If I ever wanted to do a study of fascism or of Nazi Germany, then that would be a key text to read, right? So yeah, I'm not sure whether I would want to read like an evil book. And I'm actually kind of curious about what you guys think about that. Do you guys think that we should read evil books for the sake of understanding, fascism, understanding these kinds of things? Or do you think that people shouldn't read evil books, or that those kinds of books should be avoided? I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts. And 10, if you were to write a book, what would it be about? I don't have any particular answer for this. I don't have a plot in mind or a certain story in mind, but I've often thought that it would be a lot of fun to write a fantasy novel. Well, either a fantasy novel or a Regency romance. Those two seem like they would be just like a lot of plain fun to write. And of course, I would also love to write a book of poetry. But yeah, other than that, I don't have any specific ideas for books. But yeah. And yeah, that's, well, the last one is tag some people. And I don't know exactly who hasn't made this video yet, If I think of anyone, I'll tag them in the description. But for now, I'll probably end the video there. I hope you guys enjoyed, and goodbye. Thank you, BookTube.